Hello friends, and welcome to this channel. Now previously we saw how Father Malachi Martin, he told us this rather chilling account of how a familial spirit for 2 years had been appearing to someone, slowly driving them to despair, giving them the choice, either despair or they let in and he takes full control of them. But are these things, do they still apply today? And what situation could lead a person to to open themselves to this? Well, we're going to have a look at 2 examples, which will give an answer yes to both of them. And these are first-hand accounts from a colleague of mine who spoke to the actual priests involved. Quick reminder, do enroll your Mass pre-intentions. We have in a Mass said by a Franciscan friar of the Immaculata every week. So just enroll your intentions. Just to go to our website. You can see the link here below. Now, in our first story, my colleague knew well this missionary. He was a priest in Africa. And this account actually happened to him. And it took place down in the province of the once mighty Zulu nation. Now, the Zulus were very brave people. And it was about a lifetime earlier that they had dealt a humiliating defeat to the mighty British army, leaving the Victorian public of that day absolutely shocked. How could a spear-wielding savage nation have defeated their army? So you can imagine how brave you had to be for that. But the reason I mention this is because among these very brave people, our missionary had earned himself the title of Ububesi, that is the lion. The Zulus recognized that he had the heart, the courage of a lion to do what he was doing. And this was part of his missionary efforts, his proselytism, we could say, to win these people over to the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ. Now, his sole luxury in life was a bicycle. That's the missionary priest. And with this, he would make his way from hut to hut, or from kraal to kraal, as we call it, there to do his apostolate, to try and win these people over. He was determined to win their souls, and he would speak to them in their own tongue, in their own Zulu dialect, however, with a very strong Boston accent, because that is where he came from. Well, one day in this story, the head of a local Zulu household had grown very concerned because his daughter had been seized with yet another fit. But this time it was accompanied with a realization that his daughter's seizures always coincided, they always occurred when this American missionary would be cycling close by. So he established now, in his mind, there was this link. He didn't know what caused it. He was baffled. Now, the Zulus, we could say they are pagan in a way, animists, they believe in ancestor worship. And so he approached this missionary priest to discuss this problem with him of the seizures of his daughter. No worries, the missionary said. And he agreed he would come right on over and bless the house, and he had blessed the family, and he had blessed the daughter. And ultimately, that is all that it took. When the father arrived at this hut, the mud dwelling, the daughter had now gone straight into convulsions again. This time it was even worse than any time before, because she was slithering across the floor like a snake. Well, no problem. The missionary did what he had promised to do, and he blessed everyone. He blessed her, and the diabolical manifestation ceased. In fact, that was the last time that this Zulu gentleman's daughter had these convulsions. And it didn't take long for the father to realize, to make this connection, that she had been cured. And so he was impressed now, and him and his entire household converted, and they were received into the Catholic Church. Of course, we can be sure that the demons were not very happy with this. They had lost their dwelling. They like to dwell in the human heart, I guess. They'd lost their dwelling, and so they took out their revenge. They would have taken out their revenge on the missionary priest. But these were the sacrifices that he was willing to make. In our second story, now, this is how someone in fact, seemed to open the door to the diabolical world. Unwittingly, he didn't realize he was doing this. And it's an incident that took place. Now, he had a friend who passed away a little while back, and leaving behind him a son, maybe in his 20s, early 30s. However, the son had chosen to neglect his father in his care and just left him in the state institution as the father had grown old. And so not long after this, the son now ran into what he described as a spree of bad luck. For instance, he lost his job, then he lost another job, his marriage fell apart, another attempted marriage fell apart, and so his luck just continued. It just seemed rotten luck. Until this young man was finally driven to a state of desperation, and he went to see what we call a sangoma, a witch doctor, a shaman, I guess it'd be called in other parts of the world, in order to have this problem sorted out. And apparently after that, his luck did change, seemingly. But to my colleague, this did not feel right. And so he went to discuss this problem with a priest, an exorcist in a large diocese. And the exorcist listened very carefully to every word that was spoken, how this person's luck had been changed by the witch doctor. He was very interested, and he concluded with the remarks that the young man might in fact now have opened himself to the diabolical world, and that he may in fact need an exorcism to sort this out. But of course, you can't just walk up to someone and say you need an exorcism. So the priest gave some words of advice. He gave my colleague some words of advice, gave him some prayers for protection and helpful advice to try and help the situation. I'm not sure if the young man ever went and spoke to the exorcist priest. Yet it was a dire situation because his soul, his most important possession, was involved in this. Had he opened the door? We don't know. And of course, how long would his good luck continue? Remember, our Lord called the devil the father of lies. He doesn't give you something unless he's trying to get something much worse in return. Interestingly, the exorcist priest did advise that in over 90% of these cases, it seems that the most important thing to dealing with the problem would be a sincere confession and receiving the Eucharist, attending Mass, and also all of those other sacramentals, the St. Michael's prayer, and that just these things alone can sort out 95% of the problems of the cases. The others, the exorcist has to do themselves. So I'd like to, in some other stage, go into the prayers that he recommended, how to make a good confession, things like that. We'll leave it for another time. And please, if you want to see Father Malachi Martin's video on the familial spirit, then it will be right here. The link is right here on the end screen. Do just click through. It's a bit of a long video, but it's also, he's a fascinating writer. So do join us for that story, and do make sure as well that you are subscribed to this channel and click that reminder bell so that you can see future videos that we make, and enroll your mass prayer intentions, of course. Just go to our website, which is greatsaints.net, N-E-T. And we do thank you for watching.